My ultimate goal is true wealth, which is freedom of time. It's not money, it's freedom of time. When I get my passive income to replace my expenses, then I'll be truly wealthy. I want to do anything at any time. And I already feel it, right? Because I'm sitting at home and I'm talking to you. I can just leave at any second. I don't have to ask anyone to leave, right? Because I already feel it. But as soon as I'm able to do it, then I'm not going to say I'm not going to work. I'll still continue. But the ultimate goal is I have a vision board here. I want to have 25,000 doors as LP and GP and co GP.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
Real estate experiment. What is happening, y'all? Today, I have the pleasure of having another practitioner in the lab who has multiple tools. We were just talking about it offline, which I love because I truly believe that you are only an experiment away, and it's about having the right tools to be able to implement and execute the right experiments in your lab. I have no other than Vlad Arakcheyev. What's going on, brother? How you doing
Hey,
today?
I'm doing great. Thanks
Did
so
I
much
get
for
that right, by the way?
Yeah, Arakcheyev.
Arakcheyev. That's right. We are just talking about that. I'm one for always identifying the roots, but you're actually very close to where I'm currently recording this. Right, I'm currently recording this in New York, and you're actually in New Jersey, so
Yeah.
not too far. And I want to hear a little bit about before I get into the what you're doing, etc. I always like to find out a little bit more about the person because I do believe that our businesses are a reflection of of who we are, right? And I know we were talking offline about what I'm getting myself into and how I got into it. So what's the story with you, Vlad? How did you get into be doing what you're doing today? And before that, if I ask you and I meet you and I say, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What do you say? And so that we can kind of level set and understand how you kind of mold yourself as a resource to the world.
Yeah, it's before people were having like an elevator speech, but now everybody's so busy. I think we need like an escalator speech. So you have like literally 2 seconds. So I just say I'm an investor in commercial multifamily. Any deal is not our deal, and I just stop talking. And people just reply because typically they either say, "Oh wow, large multifamily," or they're like, "What does that mean? Any deal is not our deal." And the way it is because I'm not trying to buy every deal or to make it work. I'm
Mm,
trying to be very conservative and kill the deal. And if I cannot kill the deal, I'm in it. So I'm going
mm,
the opposite way. I'm trying to poke holes in every deal that I'm in. And if it's still floating, if it still makes sense, if it still works, then I'm in it. So I'm not here to have millions of thousands of doors and things like that, or dozens of deal closed. I'm looking for quality for like top
mm.
1% of the market that I'm in. And I'm hyper focused on a very particular market, actually two, and I'm just staying there and only focused on multifamily. Yeah.
Mm. I love that. So when someone like you is in the lab with me, I always listen to how you choose your words, and I love how I heard the hyper focus, I heard the focus, I heard the escalator, which I really like, being quick and efficient, and then I also heard almost the process of every deal is not, or any deal is not a deal, right? Which means you're reverse engineering, going back to what is our criteria and making sure you're trying to actually break the deal. uh
Yeah.
let's reverse engineer to how we even got here in the first place before I get into the weeds with you about what you're doing now, which I love. Who is Vlad, and how, you know at what point, if you can kind of give us the transition, did you get into real estate, and what were you doing before that?
Yeah, great question. I was a graphic designer I worked in an advertising agency and I studied graphic design, and I was happy, or thought I was happy. And then COVID hit, right? And a lot of lives changed during COVID. Mine's changed completely, where I got furloughed, and I didn't know when is the next paycheck is coming from, or where is it, when is it coming. So we needed to take matters into our own hands and do something with our lives and just make a change. And my wife and I, she said, "Hey, listen, COVID or no COVID, people need to live somewhere, right? Why don't you try become a real estate agent, sell some houses here in New Jersey? Hey, people need, housing." So I said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." But I was very skeptical because I didn't know anything about real estate, right? I used an agent before, but I'm not a real estate guy. Was I thought I was not. But anyway, studied for the exam during the evenings, passed the test, got my real estate license, joined the brokerage, started doing that, and then I started going to meetups, and people like, "Oh my gosh, have you heard about flipping houses?" I'm like, I don't know what they are. Started doing that, and then started doing some wholesaling as well. And then the transition started. I was like, so what's the next logical step? Let's buy a house and let's see how that cash flow works. So we got a rental in South Jersey, right by Philly, and it worked out well. It was netting me $1,000 a month net, which is great. But then I realized that you can't really scale by doing all these closings and all these deals. It's just not scalable as fast as I wanted to. So thank God that my wife said, "Hey, listen, can we just put that on pause and see this multifamily thing?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we just started the single family. Now you're talking multifamily?" She's like, "Yeah, just let's try it." So we flew down to Texas to a multifamily event. And after a day there, my eyes were completely opened. I was blown away by what I've seen, the people I've met, the relationships that I basically kind of cultivated, if you want to call it that. And when we came back to New Jersey, we immediately started thinking, what do we need? Right? We need credibility and education. So we started interviewing all the mentors, and
By the
we
way, what was the name of the conference, Vlad?
oh, MFIN, Multifamily Investors Nation.
Hmm.
It was in Houston, and it was like 1,000 people, 1,000 investors. I was blown away. And then when I come back, we started interviewing mentors. I joined Jake and Gino, which is a
Yes.
multifamily mastermind, and everything took off from there. I started studying like crazy, networking nonstop, and about 8 months later, I got into my very first multifamily deal. But before that, I actually quit my W 2. I resigned, burnt all the bridges. I wanted to be hyper focused on real estate. So I am still doing single family residential space in New Jersey,
Hmm.
selling houses. And of course, my primary focus is multifamily, syndications, and GVs.
Wow. I love the background because I hear a lot of process driven, but I also hear that you're very quick from what I'm hearing. Because if you this if you started this during COVID, we're currently recording this in 2023, right? We're just about halfway through the year, so that would say it's been what, 3 years
Yep.
since that you had that kind of a paradigm or rebrand, for lack of a better words. So I want to understand because I'm a uh big on the mindset and big on just action taking. When you decided that you were done with or at least going in with educating yourself on or getting, let's start with a realtor license. um how quickly, and maybe I shouldn't preface it by saying how quickly, but how long did it take you to get your license? And you saying you were staying studying in the evening, so I'm assuming you were still working during your day, right? As a graphic
Yeah,
designer.
yeah, I was. Yeah, so I could take only one class a night, and they were offering only 3 times per week. So it took me 2 months, and
Okay.
I didn't fail anything. It's just that's how long it takes, and it had to be in front of a live person. So
Hmm.
it's not like a recording or anything like that. So
Yeah.
they were offering, and I had to take them in sequence. So I started when it was like lesson 15 or something, but I had to wait till the whole new cycle starts around so I can take lesson 1, 2, 3 up until
Oh
like
wow.
lesson 30 or something like that. So that's why it took so long. But I was studying at night. I taken the exam, passed it the first time, and don't forget during COVID, you couldn't go to the office, you couldn't really do anything. It was all based online. Everything
Yeah.
is here on the internet. I mean, it was, I guess, good and bad, but
Yeah. Well, that was gonna. Yeah. That was actually gonna be my next question, because you mentioned that you got a license, and then you mentioned meetups. At what point were you able to actually do meetups? During COVID.
you know what? Pretty as soon as I got the license, we started looking around, and in Jersey, in some cases, with masks and social distancing, they had those. It was like 10 people in a room, all spaced out, sitting in different corners of the room. Somebody wearing like a mask and a plastic shield in front of them and stuff like that. I mean, it was just absolute, craziness what was happening. But hey, listen, it is what it is. You had to do it. So I wanted to learn more. I wanted to see what people are doing. How are they flipping? What's this whole ARV, and how are
Hmm.
they estimating? Rehab. I
Yeah.
was like, how do people do it? Because I mean, over Zoom, you can only get so much,
Yeah.
right? Plus, others have other business that they have to do.
Yeah.
So when you go to a networking event, you can really just attach yourself to a developer or a contractor or anything, and just really ask them all the questions. Really grind. So that's exactly how I got started with this, and the shift was really quick because I worked on my mind a lot, and I it's like a muscle, right? You got to train it.
Hmm.
So if you want to make quick decisions in real estate, you have to make quick decisions, because if you delay, you're going to lose a deal. And it happened to me 3 times. I learned. I don't know how much money I lost because I lost 3 deals, but I know I lost money. So now when I see something, I immediately make a decision, like as fast as possible. So what I was talking about is I had my W-2. I called a person, right? So he wanted to sell his house. It was Tuesday. And he's like, yeah, Vlad, no problem. Why didn't you come on Thursday? I'm like, I can't. I'm working. I can come only on Friday. And he's like, okay, no problem. I'll wait for you. We got agreed on the price, agreed on everything. Thursday rolls around. I call him and I'm like, hey, listen, it's Vlad. I'm just confirming our appointment for tomorrow. I'm coming. He's like, sorry, I already lost. I sold the house. I'm like, what do you mean you sold it? We have an appointment tomorrow. He was like, well, somebody else came in. They gave me pretty much the same offer as you did. I'm happy. I got my money. That's it. And that happened 3 times.
Wow.
So
And so was that a you trying to sell it as a listing agent, or was it you just trying to buy as an investor?
yeah, buy it as an investor. Buy it as an
Mhm.
investor. Yeah, and somebody else just came in and grabbed it, and then I got so frustrated. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to burn the boats. I don't want to quit my W-2 because, like, what's going to happen? But thanks to my wife and her support, I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, you know what you have to do. So the
Mm.
next Monday, I literally, during the lunch break, I called her and I'm like, hey, can you send me a resignation letter? And she did, and I resigned right away, gave him my 2 weeks notice.
What's your? I hear you sound like you have such a great relationship with your wife, which is amazing.
Yeah.
What's her? She seems to be very assertive, etc. What's her kind of your relationship and like the background with that? Like, is you guys kind of tackle these together? Is she kind of what's? I'm just curious. It sounds like I've heard many times, like your wife kind of giving you that support, you guys going to travel to the multifamily thing together. Can you give me a little bit of a background on that? Because I think people don't talk enough about how important it is to have a partner who's supportive and in alignment with what you're doing. So I would love for you to highlight that if you can.
Yeah, it's it's a blessing because She has a very fiery personality. She's a red on a disc scale, DISC.
Hmm.
So she wants to be moving forward all the time. If you're just cruising, you're falling behind. You have to be always like accelerating forward. You have to be like a rocket ship all the time. So she goes, "Hey, listen, we have to do this. We have to move forward." That's why her support and that transition to multifamily space was so quick, because I'm like, "Hey, listen, we got this and this and this. What can we do?" She's like, "Let's go. Let's go to an event." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's in Houston." She's like, "I already got tickets. We're going." So I got that fiery like energy from her. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing the decision so quickly. She works in the finance industry. She still has her W-2. She works in the finance industry, and she supports me with everything that I do. And
That's so
you know,
critical. That's so
yeah,
critical.
it's huge because her support means everything. That means I can not worry about how long I'm going to be out or if I'm going to a conference. In fact, she's like, "Hey, listen, why don't you go to this networking event? It's happening in Jersey City. It's happening in Manhattan. Why don't you just go?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." So network is your net worth, as we all know, which is
Yeah.
true. I know everybody says it, but it's true. So
Yeah.
yeah, go and network and talk to people and make sure you follow up.
So let's talk about that for a second, because you started networking, and the reason why I'm loving your case study is because you did not come. We're not talking about like, oh, you've been doing this for 30 years. Like, we're talking about, okay, I'm gonna just rebrand myself, and these are the actions that I'm gonna take very quickly, right? And
Mm,
so you went to those meetups. You started calling. It sounds like homeowners to make offers. But I want to understand too, because I heard some flipping, but I also heard you go from single family to multifamily real quick. So
yeah.
when you went to those meetups, what was the first initial investment? I know you just talked about cash flowing for $1,000, and then how much time did you spend in it? Did you get into flipping at all, or what was the? I'm trying to understand the transition and the foundation being laid, buying the first one, and then the transition into the next thing. So did you
Yeah.
dabble in flipping at all, or
I
how did that
did,
work?
yeah. You know what? It was so quick, you have no idea. It literally within 8 months, I realized that flipping is awesome. It's profitable. A lot of people are doing it. It's great, but at the same time, I'm not trying to add more work to my day. I'm
Mhm.
trying to basically work less and have passive income, right? Work smarter, not harder.
Mhm.
Additionally, what I have learned is that if you stop prospecting, everything dries up, right? It's like a
For
hamster in a wheel.
flips, right?
Yeah, you got to keep on churning. You got to keep on looking. But look what's happening now, right? It's July 2023. The rates have what quadrupled since 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sell anymore. A lot of those wholesalers that everybody was a wholesaler 2 years ago. Now they all dropped off. Before, you can find the house at 75%, I don't know, 75 cents on the dollar. Now you got to look at 50 cents on the dollar. Everything is
Mhm.
more expensive, so it's more difficult to find flips nowadays. People are not selling as much, so I don't want to do that. My goal is true wealth, which is passive income, right? I want my money to work for me. So investment in single family, great, duplexes, quads, but what why if I can go big, I
Yeah.
can partner up
Yeah.
and I can go big. If you look at it this way, right? So let's say you need to make $10,000 a month, right? One house gives you $1,000, so you need 10 houses. That's 10 different roofs, 10 different closings that you have to do, 10 different closing fees. You have to deal with 10 different banks. You have all these things that you got to deal. How about you just buy one that has 10 units? Isn't that easier?
Yeah.
Some people say, oh my gosh, but it costs more money. Yes, but partner with people. That's what people are missing. Partner up, partnering with others that are looking for the same thing. So that's what I've done.
Mhm.
Partnering is the key to
Okay.
this thing.
No, that's great. So as far as, and I really want to get into it. I just want to help us transition with that. When you did the flip, because it took about 8 months. Was it like a cosmetic flip? Was it one flip? Did you do more than one, or was it just one flip that you did?
Yeah, it was just two. It was
Two.
literally two flips. Yeah,
How long
and
did those take together?
It total it was like 8 months, so it was like 4 and 4 somewhere around there. They were not huge flips. At that time, nobody was looking for like full guts,
Mhm.
because remember what was happening back then? The rates were super low, and everybody wanted to buy a house.
Yeah.
Everybody was running. Like you had people calling from New York City trying to go into suburbs, trying to move to PA, New Jersey,
Mhm.
buying houses. People were doing this thing called wholetailing, which is just crazy, where basically they buy a beat up house, do a little bit of landscaping in the front, paint the fence in the front of the house, and they're like, there you go. And they're trying to sell it. And guess what? It worked. It was profitable. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, how long it's going to last,
Yeah.
right? It's not going to
It's a
last.
it's a cash grab. It's not like an actual investment.
Yeah. And
Yes.
plus, you got to pay taxes off of that thing. Don't forget, you make
Capital
50,000.
gains.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, you got to pay taxes off of that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So you bought your first property, then you transition into flipping just to I love using the word experiment because I feel like that's what it is. And then
yeah,
you quickly realize that okay, there's fees on the in, there's fees on the out. This isn't the move. Let's go to a multifamily conference. Did I get that timing right?
exactly correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is all within 8 months.
Pretty much.
That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's crazy.
Because I mean, technically, and my wife was speaking, she has like a friend or a life coach, you want to call it. And the life coach goes, so what's your ultimate goal? And my wife, her name is Olga, she goes, ultimately, I want to be in multifamily, like large garden style apartment buildings.
Hmm.
And she goes, so what's stopping you now? And she's like, well, I need network and I need to know how. And she's like, well, that's an excuse. What's stopping you now? Let me repeat the question. She's like, nothing. So find the network, find education, find a partner. So nothing is stopping me now. So that's exactly her pushing
Mm,
and me realizing that scaling works much better. So it was like a perfect collaboration, perfect, everything aligned.
that's a lovely. I love that coaches are just so good for unblocking those
Yeah.
limiting beliefs, right, and
Oh,
removing these areas. You talked about mindset before we get into the multifamily because you talked about getting mentorship with Jake and Gino. I know we had them on the podcast as well. Great, and we're in great company. Um, what do you use? I want to focus on. There's two things I'm pulling out of this episode is one, having a strong partner, which I love. I know sometimes people can kind of look over that and get right into the meat and potatoes, but for me those are strong pillars. And another one is the mindset that you talked about. I'm curious, what do you use for your mindset? Because I we don't talk about it enough, and now I'm getting into it. Right, like we have to talk about it.
yeah,
What do you do to
mindset.
work on your mindset and that
Yeah,
is working for
mindset
you?
is, in my opinion, is the most difficult thing. I'm still working on a daily, limiting beliefs, saying I'll try instead of I do, and things like
Mm.
that. So I've done a lot. Read a lot of books, been to a lot of seminars, including Ben Hardy, who's written books like Who Not How, Gap
Oh,
and Gain,
you're
how
you're
10x is easier than 2x. I've
mhm.
taken his accelerator classes where he literally unblocks your mind, and that took me to meditation and yoga and exercising, time blocking. I mean, it's a whole process, but limiting beliefs is that like, oh, I'll try to do it. No, no, no. You don't try. You just do. That's what Yoda said in Star Wars, right?
Mm.
You do. There is no try. So it's the same thing here. Your mind is the only thing that's limiting you. So when you speak or in the same field as the people that are doing it, you get that energy from them, right? If if you're in the same room with the people that are closing hundreds of doors, and you'll be like, why can't I do it, right?
Yeah.
Why? There is no reason. They're doing it. They're just like you. They're just regular people. Absolutely. And they're open to share. Some people like, oh my gosh, I don't know how. Go ask me, reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. Reach out, I'll help you.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's stopping you is this, your mind. Work on this first.
Yeah.
And then stop with the limiting beliefs. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't have the money. Find the person with money. Find the person. Do what you do. Don't forget, you're on a team and you do one thing great. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know your thing. If you're great at negotiation, do that. Acquisitions, absolutely go for it. Capital raising, for sure. So find another team member, get together, and really grow. That's where the true growth is. People like, oh, I don't want to share. Yeah, but if I understand you don't want to share. That's fine, but you're gonna grow. It's gonna take you twice as many years to be at the same level. Partner up. So that's what I'm all about.
I couldn't agree more. And one thing that really resonated from what you just said, and it's so important that we talk about it, is what you said. It's you see other people that look like you, and for me, I spent a lot of money on getting myself in the rooms that have those people that are 10x ahead. And by the way, I'm a huge, 10x is easier than 2x. Ben Hardy's Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I mean, it's incredible the kind of stuff that goes, but you have to have a paradigm shift, and that paradigm shift often comes with the environment. And so if you're with people who are saying, you have those limiting beliefs, they will rub off on you. But if you're with people who don't have a cap, don't have a ceiling, and anything is possible, that will also influence your paradigm. And it takes time, right? Repetition to have a paradigm shift. It's not just you read the book once, or you really have to go deep into that subconscious mind,
Yeah,
which is just so powerful. So I'm really glad you touched on that, because I think
yeah.
it's an ongoing, and keyword is you're still going through it, right? Like
Well,
we're
yeah,
still constantly rewiring ourselves,
yeah,
because you can't unwire something that you've been wired to do for the majority of your
yeah.
life, and expect it to just switch over time, over a short
Yeah,
period of
your
time.
mind is really racing. It's there all the time, and it's
Mhm.
it's trying to quote unquote save you and protect
Protect
you.
you.
You're like,
Yeah.
no, don't do this. That's too
It's
unsafe.
different.
Oh,
It's different.
don't call them. They might yell at you. But that's your mind saying. You have to rewire it. Whatever
Hmm.
it's saying you shouldn't do, that's exactly what you
Exactly what
have
you
to do.
should do. Yeah.
Exactly. You'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to call a broker, but I'm going to sound foolish. It's okay. Learn
Hmm.
how to not be foolish and call that broker. That's what I've done. I'll tell you what I've done. This is there you go. This is what I've done.
So
So
that.
my market is Texas, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't know anything, but I want to practice speaking with brokers. So what do? I got a bunch of brokers from Atlanta. Why Atlanta? Because it's not my market. I don't care if I call them and make a fool out of myself. So I
Mm.
call them, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't like this guy whatsoever." They hang up on me. I can't answer their questions because I'm new, right? I didn't know anything. But who cares? It's not my market. They don't know
Mhm.
me. So I got my reps in. I got all
Mm.
the questions down. I know the responses. I know what I'm going to tell them. And I know all the feedback. And now when I'm calling Texas, I know exactly what they're going to ask me. I know exactly what to say back. I got my repetitions in and practice on a different market. And that's what you have to do. Just practice and then really, call the market that you're looking to buy in. That's what I've done.
Hey Vlad, why you gotta do me like that? Atlanta's my market, man. You couldn't have picked
Well,
anybody
yeah,
else.
I just listen.
I'm just kidding, man.
The thing is, no, I mean it's a great market, but for
Yeah,
some reason, I always was attracted to Texas. So I'm
yeah.
like, hey, listen, because I don't know what it is. It. Plus now I know what it is. I mean, Midwest is great. I buy in Kansas too, and I buy in
Mhm.
the Carolinas. I love Carolinas. Kansas
Well,
City. It's unbelievable. So
yeah.
yeah.
While you're here, tell us why do you? It's always great to hear market insights. As we're talking about this, why
Yeah.
do you like Texas? Why did you like Texas? Do you still like Texas, or have things changed?
Yeah, listen, Texas. I'm buying in Houston and Dallas. If you just look at the overall thing, the number one, Dallas is like fourth largest city in the country. I mean, all the petrochemical is there. It has second largest growth from COVID, response from COVID, that people are going back to work. You have all these Fortune 500 companies that are going to Dallas. If I'm not mistaken, they even call it like the West of Wall Street or something like that. So you have all these 500 companies because there's no taxes, right? So
Mm.
it's very attractive. Additionally, it's a landlord-friendly state, so it actually benefits homeowners if you own property there. So that's the only reason. That's one of the reasons why I like Texas. Of course, there's growth. You look at the matrix. You look at the matrix. You see where people are moving to. That's another way. Kansas City is one of them, and of course the Carolinas. Initially, we went into Florida, but as you know, Florida is really hot, like unbelievably. You got insurance skyrocketing. The prices are just crazy, and we just couldn't find anything there. Just I'm sure there are deals there, but we just couldn't. So we moved up to the Carolinas, and we closed two deals in the Carolinas pretty quickly. So that's where we stayed, and we like it so far. Yeah.
I love it. That's amazing. So you transition into multifamily. You talked about having the mindset. You talked about surrounding yourself. You identify your market. How much of that market? Because I think sometimes people get in their own way. I mean, not sometimes, always, right? Whether it's your mind, call it the mind getting on their own way, analysis paralysis. You're based out in New Jersey. How did you pick Dallas, Texas, and Houston? Was it a coach? Was it what you heard at meetups? Was it a combination of your own research? What? Because I heard you say the word hyper focus many
Yeah.
times, and I think people struggle with that. But I think in order to help tactically help someone focus, is what are the tools that will allow me to focus? Like, what should I be doing? What's it? I love how you gave a tactical exercise of like, oh yeah, let me actually call another market that I'm not interested in to get my reps in, which I could not trust anymore, right? Experiment,
Yeah.
fail, learn, repeat. Like that's our motto here in the lab. So tell us about how you found your market, because I know that that's going to stop someone else who might be listening to this, or someone's listening, and that's literally the thing that's holding them back. And I would love to hear your insight from a guy who did it.
Yeah, I just looked at the growth. I looked at the potential, and also another thing for me is I looked at the place that's gonna fail the least, right?
Hmm.
So everything you got to
And where do you
market.
and where do you look at this information, Vlad?
Right. I mean, you look at CoStar. Number
Mhm.
one, I mean, that's the biggest thing. We follow CoStar, and also there's so many things you have Reonomy, of course. A lot of people, you know what they look for? U-Haul. You see where U-Haul is. People are moving, so you see where the trucks are driving, and it's free if you go to U-Haul.com. You see where people are moving, so you see
You
a
can you
lot of
can literally
people.
see. You can hold on. You can. I didn't know about this. I like to see this. What I'm
Yeah,
looking
on
at, Vlad.
U-Haul. If you
You
go to
can.
U-Haul, it publishes data where people are moving to. Absolutely.
No freaking way. I love
Yeah.
that. That's a hack. That's gonna be a soundbite from this one.
Yeah, no, but that's what it is. And also another thing, you just talk to people, and they was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, Texas is so saturated. There's a lot of competition. There's competition everywhere.
Hmm.
Absolutely, there's no competition in Alaska, but this maybe even there. I don't know,
Yeah.
but there's competition
Yeah.
everywhere.
No. No.
But the
100%.
you don't have to look at the competition as competition. Look at them as your potential partners. And that's exactly how these partnerships start. You go
Mm.
consistently to networking events, to Zoom calls. You fly all over the country. Like last year, I flew, I don't know, to like 8 events. And people see me constantly. They hear me online. They see me everywhere. And what's happening is they call me and they're like, "Oh, you buying in Dallas? Oh, we buying there too. Oh, can we join forces and buy together?" And yes, of course, the answer is absolutely yes, because I know them, they know me, and we just formed a partnership for this particular deal. So that's
Wow, that's
exactly.
so good.
Don't look at it as your competition.
Yeah.
You,
Well,
you're
that.
not
Yeah.
trying to. Yeah, you're not trying to sell a residential house here and do one transaction quickly. This is a 5-year hold that you're holding this apartment complex. They all your potential partners. So I don't care about the competition. Just rise above it. Be more creative. Have better relationships with people, and of course, networking. Everything helps, and add value to people. Hey, listen, you can say, I'm so great at speaking with brokers, I can negotiate any deal. I'm sure anybody will take you on their team. Absolutely.
Mm.
So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Experiment Nation, you've heard the word MTR, mid-term rentals, as it is currently a hot topic and hot commodity right now because, again, there has been an increase in short-term rental regulations, and there also has been, let's face it, a slowdown in what we were experiencing a couple years back when it comes to bookings. So with that said, short-term rental operators are looking for alternative solutions to tap into the mid-term rental space. However, there is a space, there is a sub niche of mid-term rental insurance that I'm truly excited about, that I want to share with you, that the experience that we've had, the tremendous results we've been able to have, and that's the insurance mid-term rental space, which is very different than your traditional mid-term rentals. When you think of traditionally mid-term rentals, you think of travel nurses. There is a space, mid-term rental insurance space, that we've tapped in, where you need to be well connected with insurance and relocation specialists and companies and understand the right type of asset required for you to be able to help these families. What's really important that stands out the most, which you can get in what I'm about to offer you, is the understanding where to be found by these insurance companies, how to properly manage your calendar so that your listings are optimized so that they can find you, how to actually gain traction and build a relationship with these relocation insurance companies. I've put together an MTR insurance blueprint. That's double MT triple R insurance blueprint to cover these foundations after we've had success landing very large contracts on single family homes that literally 4x what we traditionally make in long-term rentals, and also gives us peace of mind because there's less turnover and 100% occupancy, because these contracts can start anywhere from 30 days to 3 months to 8 months and range anywhere from, again, we've landed anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000 a month in per month on a single family home property, which our mortgages are typically around the 2,400 range, which then gives you a large spread of anywhere from 4 to 6K net on just one property. And this is why it's very hot right now. But people who haven't been in the lab with individuals like myself, like Jesse Vasquez and Dr. Rachel Gainsborough and Noble Crawford, don't have the foundations and don't know exactly where to start. And therefore, this is why I'm giving you guys a blueprint, the MTRR insurance blueprint. Go to the website, experimentrealestate.com, and get yourself a blueprint to completely change, or at least have a plan B if you're a short-term rental operator looking to maximize your occupancy and profitability. We'll see you on the other side.
I love that because it goes back to the rewiring as well, the mindset of like, oh, W2 is a competition, right? I gotta get the promotion. I gotta be the best. Right? And then it's, wait, what would need to be true in order for me to get to this goal? Well, who are the who's in the room that I need to be associated with, A, to get the level of insight, but then B, I love this because you're putting it in a very tactical way that people can understand. Is, by the way, that's not your competition. If there's masses going out of place, those are your partners. And there's a reason why sometimes, right, that there's multiple individuals who are going to a place. It's because they have access to, again, for example, you just told me you look at U-Haul. I had no idea. If you and I were networking, I'm like, I'm gonna have a look at that as well, because Vlad told me that he looks at U-Haul. Then you talk to another guy or a gal, and they're using some other source of data that then validates, your data points as well and your decision making. And then, by the way, hey, strength in numbers, right? Because they understand, again, now you're playing with people who understand strength in numbers, who understand the who, not how. That, okay, you might be really good on the phone, or you might be really good at this whole podcasting thing. You mean to tell me you organically reached out to everybody and then got on a show? Okay, you can be our strategic partner with strategic relationships. And I use you as an example because you talked about this offline with me, and I was like, wow, that's admirable. Like, there's not a lot of people who do that, right? So I think it's really good that you're highlighting these things, because the way you're highlighting it is very tactical. And I think we get so hung up on, like,
even the work networking, what that even looks like anymore. I think you've given us a very good example. Another one that I don't want to make sure doesn't slip through the cracks is what you just said. I think investing in yourself to fly over, right? Like I'm constantly, or I got another conference you guys know that I'll be speaking at in August in Utah. The relationships like that when you go there, forget the speakers, it's the person that you sit next to, right? It's the person that you network with at a breakout event. So
Are you talking about
um,
best ever conference?
no, I'm actually we're actually funny, my agency actually did their promotion for that I with Joe Fairless, but no, I'm talking about we actually have our midterm rental retreat in Utah
Okay.
that I'll be going to in August, right? Very very hyper focused, just like you, my friend. But I just, these are such good gems, I think, and the reason why they're gems is because they're not difficult to do, but they can be hard to implement if you don't have the focus and discipline, which that's the hard part, right? I
Yeah.
think that's really what it is. It's the consistency of not just saying, oh yeah, I went to a conference. Well, you talked about 8, right? Right. So and you're still going, right? You don't stop.
I don't stop. You have to be consistent. If you come
Mm,
once there, people like, yeah, okay, they're not going to pay attention. But if they constantly see your name, constantly showing up to Zoom calls, I'll tell you one thing. When I started, because I couldn't travel a lot, but it just, I was learning a lot, just join Jake and Gino. I was going to 5 Zoom calls, networking Zoom calls per day, 5 per day.
wow.
People would know me because I was consistent all the time, not just once, but all the time, all the time. Like my calendar was filled with Zoom calls. People hate all these networking and, Zoom calls and things like that, but you have to do these things. You have to be consistent.
Mm.
But then after they know you already established, yeah, you can dial back. That's what I've done now.
Well, it's also the compound effect. Now it's also
Yeah.
about who's talking about you when you're here on this podcast. Someone probably talking about you, right? Your
Yeah.
ears must be buzzing all the time because like, oh, we were just talking about you. How did I come up? Oh, so and so mentioned your name, and that goes back to you having planted those seeds, and now you
Yeah.
have these deep rooted roots that are now. It's essentially an investment in yourself. Your brand is so important because your
Yeah.
brand. I always say this: marketing is what you put out to the marketplace. Your brand is what people say when you're not in the room.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah. Branding is a lot of. Before, I didn't even know what marketing was and I thought it was silly, but yeah, it's everything. Sales is everything. Listen, if I would give myself, some people say, oh, what would you give yourself, some advice to like your 10-year-old self or
Yeah.
15-year-old, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Learn sales and marketing. That's everything in life. Forget about selling a product. You're selling yourself to everyone every single day. I
Yeah.
sell myself to my wife daily,
Mm.
sell myself to my kids, to my cats, literally every single day to everyone. It does. You don't have to sell a product. You just sell things. You sell how, like, oh, you want to go to a restaurant, but there's a right way to ask, or maybe there's a wrong way to ask. So if you learn how to negotiate and really ask the right question, and what I really struggled with, this is the big one. Not just listen, but listen, be present, be here now, be present. So really understand what the person's saying and meaning, not just like, oh yeah, and immediately thinking of a next question. No, your mind wanders. Your mind is your biggest enemy because it's wandering all the time. If it's not wandering, it's thinking something's wrong. But if it stops and you just focus, just me and you, that's what it's all about. I met 2 people that are so focused, I was blown away. And I asked them this question. I couldn't get a response. I got pulled away. One of them was Pace Morby.
Mm-hmm.
I could never forget this moment. If you don't know Pace Morby, he is
Oh, I know Pace. Yeah.
he's
Subject too,
running.
man.
Yeah, subject to great guy. Now he's doing multifamily. He's doing creative financing. And I was speaking to him in front of, or surrounded by 200 people. He was so focused and just present in front of me. I was blown away. I never seen a
You
person
could
so.
feel it, right?
Yeah, yeah, like nobody exists. It's just me and him.
Isn't
It's
that
like, it's
isn't
amazing.
that incredible? Because
Yeah.
What you're saying is very similar to what people say when they might walk away from you and be like, there's something about this guy, Vlad. I don't know what it is. But I'll tell you what it is. It's what you just said. It's if Vlad wasn't on his phone, Vlad looked at me in the eye. That's another big one, right? Going to
Yeah.
meetups in person. Vlad shook my hand in a strong, confident way that it gave me confidence that he's confident about what he's talking about, right? Because half the battle sometimes in sales is it's not so much about trying to convince me. I want to be convinced that you're convinced in yourself,
Yeah.
right? And I get that through these, so I'm so glad that you touched on that because, you know, I've had coaches on sales and it's about listening. It's not about having my script. It's about what is your pain point? You're telling me that you have this money and your goal, you have a family. You said you had a cat. You said you have your wife. Oh God. Okay. I'm listening. I'm taking all this in. And then I'm able to say, I'm able to actually genuinely offer a real solution to you, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to your pain points. And when I'm able to repeat those pain points, Vlad, are you telling me that you and your wife really want to take action to build a legacy in order to put your money to work, etc., and you don't want another job flipping homes, but you do want to put your money right? I'm kind of saying what you're
Yeah.
telling me. Then that shows me like, wow, this person really cares, and I can't tell you. This is for the listeners. Like, this is the reason why I'm really appreciating this conversation with you, Vlad, because these are fundamental pillars
Yeah.
that will never that are evergreen, right? No matter how much technology, AI, there's an importance of being able to foster genuine, real relationships, mastering sales, focus, conversation, communication. And I'm so glad that you highlighted it because I haven't really had, someone, I like how you're able to really pull things out and really put it into very, very clear context.
Yeah.
And so thank you for doing that because I think these are sometimes things that kind of slip through the cracks or get swept under the rug, and it's the foundation.
Yeah, I was taking speech classes, and somebody said to me, you have to explain everything very simply.
Mm,
Because typically, when you, like, for example, raising capital, you're going to start out throwing out terminology, and that's what I've done. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this IRR, and look at this cash on cash. And half of people don't even know what that means. So they're like, why even throwing these terms around? Speak to people like you're literally just speaking to your kids, to like a 5-year old. Just normal conversation, normal speech. You don't have to impress them by knowing all these fancy abbreviations. Just because they're normal people, they know
mhm.
what you know. You don't have to tell them how many doors and assets and all. No, just talk to them. Be genuine.
Yeah.
People appreciate it more. And in many cases, you know what it is. When you come to a networking event, for example, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, so how many doors did you buy this year?" Or stuff like that. Well, how about asking them, "So where are you going on vacation? So what are your
Mm,
plans? Do you like to ride motorcycles? I do." Stuff like this. People appreciate when you're really being genuine and talking about them, not just their business, because everybody says that. That's
mhm,
what I asked Pace. Everybody asks Pace, like, oh my gosh, how many houses did you buy? I don't care about how many houses he bought. I asked him one question. I'm like, Pace, how do you stay so focused? And he laughed. He laughed. He's like, you know what? How much time do you have? I'm like, until they pull me away, I got all the time I need, but I got pulled away. So it's to be continued. But that was my question. Because and another question to somebody else before I was saying, do you meditate? Now I pretty much know that 90% of multifamily investors meditate. So my next question is, how long do you meditate a day? That's my question now, because that's what I'm
mm,
working on now. I'm working on meditation, being focused instead of my mind racing. I
mhm.
want my mind being present, being focused here today. So that's what I'm working on right now.
That's so good. It's so interesting because I feel like the quality of question that you ask is the level of quality of answer that you get. And so, thing I'm trying to learn is asking better questions, right? To your point, right? When you change that, okay, great, everyone meditates in this
Yeah.
space. Now let me ask how long they meditate. It's critical. Man, this is good, Vlad. So it's funny because talking about all these pillars, you know, we didn't even get into the, escalator pitch that you now have. You're hyper focused in one market, you're doing multifamily, you've educated yourself, you're still networking. What is your I know you talked about Texas being one of your favorite market, but what is your USP, your unique selling point, your moat, for lack of a better words, that when you're talking to a regular, in when I use the word regular, I just mean like someone who might not be a subject matter expert in investing, right, and they're you're trying to not sell them perhaps, but educate them, because that's what I
Yeah.
believe you need to do, to educate people so that if they are interested, they can come and invest with you, because at the end of the day, as investors, our goal is to educate others so that they can partake in these amazing
Yeah.
investments that you have. So what does that look like today, that conversation, and what is your value, specific kind of value prop?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all about education. And
Mhm.
what I'm doing is I'm just sharing my story where, I started, with being a graphic designer, and here I am investing in multifamily. So technically, and people didn't even know it exists. A lot of people, my friends, are like, is this like a Ponzi scheme? Why haven't I heard about this?
Wow.
Because before you couldn't touch it. People know stocks, they now know crypto, they know savings account, and now they know REITs. That's it. But people don't know you can invest with self-directed IRAs, with 401ks. They don't know that you can do a 1031 exchange into a syndication. All these things were just not there. Nobody was talking about it because you're just not in that circle. And I'm like, hey, listen, I know it's not a Ponzi scheme. I can introduce you to about like 100 people that do the same thing, and they get the same returns. And previously, it was not accessible for a person that's not wealthy. Like you needed, I don't know what, $100,000, $200,000 to invest in a syndication. It just recently it opened up to 506B, which is sophisticated investors, and
Mhm.
typical investment is what, 50,000. So it opened up doors to more people to really take advantage of this, because the opportunity is there, and people don't, they're like, oh yeah, I can invest in stock and get dividends. Sure, but you got to pay taxes. Do you know about cost segregation? Do you know about depreciation? They're like, okay, what does that mean? And after I try to explain it in the simplest language possible, they're like, is how's that possible? Why haven't I heard? I'm like, because you're not in the space. I'm like, just Google it. I'm like, and they say, I wouldn't even know this
To
term. I
Google.
never
Yeah.
heard about it. And I give them a book to read. I'm like, it's called Hands Off Investor. In my opinion, one of the easiest read. Uh, just pick it up, check it out. It pretty
Who's that?
much sums everything up. Hands
Who's
Off Investor. Great
who's
book.
who's that by?
Um, uh, Burke. I think
Can
Brian
we can,
Burke.
oh, okay, we
Yeah, I
can look
think
it
it's
up.
Brian.
I'll make sure to include
Yeah,
that in the show notes.
hands-off investor.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple read, and it just basically explains how this whole thing works, and you don't have to know a lot. You don't have to be involved, because people
Mhm.
like, oh, I don't have time. I'm like, you don't need time to be involved. You can do your W-2. Just do your due diligence. Ask questions. I'm like, you don't want to invest with me? Perfectly okay. Ask me. And a lot of people now do. They send me a deal, and they're like, what do you think of the team and the deal? Would you invest in them? And I'm like, hey, listen, the team looks great. The deal, ask this question, this and this and this. Look at the
Mm.
red flags. So ask questions, reach out. It's perfectly okay to ask for referrals too. Like, you
Mm.
want to invest in Texas? That's fine. Invest in Arkansas or something like that if you think it's a great market, and I'm sure, and it is. But ask the right question, and it's perfectly okay to ask for referrals. Yeah,
Know that. Yeah, and that's Hands Off Investor by Brian Burke. So thank you
Brian
for
Burke.
that
Yeah,
resource. Listen, Vlad, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed kind of diving deep into the behind the scenes, right? We hear investors come in, they talk about how many doors they have, they talk about
but we don't get to see the transformation and transition. And I think you're such a perfect embodiment of being an experimenter, because at the end of the day, that you're taking a proof of concept, right? We're not asking you to come into the lab and start launching your experiments that are not proven to have worked, right? This is, you're able to maybe do that, I believe, a little later when you have the ability to get get a little fancy. But for now, you're saying, hey, this has worked, this has been, people have been doing this for years, right? From mindset to the investing to the personal development to the discipline to the repetition. This is nothing new, but it needs to be put into a track that is hyper focused, as you say, in order to be able to get what you want. And once you're able to do that paradigm shift that you were able to have and give yourself that permission to go all in, it's amazing to see. As someone
Yeah.
like you, what I would say is just you just planted the seed. My goodness. I mean, you're early, you're still new, what I would say, but you're very seasoned, and that's because you took the right steps, and you have a lot of reps, which I
Yeah,
can't overlook.
you need to take action.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And really just get into it. Like I'm really passionate about this because people are missing opportunities. Like I tell my friends, one of my friends, and he's like, "Oh, I got money in a savings account." I'm like, "That's perfectly okay. You're very liquid. That's great that you have this money in the savings." But let me ask you a question: what's the inflation these days? And they're like, "I don't know, 10%." I'm like, "Okay, so how much is savings account giving you? How much are they paying? 4. So how much are you losing in your being liquid?" And they're like, and they don't know what to say. And I'm like, well, you gotta move that money somewhere, right? I understand being liquid is okay. And I give them actually other suggestions. I'm like, have you heard about whole life policy, for example?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm like, why don't you invest that money into that? Because it grows and compounds as well. At the same time, you have liquidity because you can pull the capital back. And they're like, "Oh, why didn't people tell me?" I'm like, "You didn't ask a question." And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "But if you don't care about, let's say, $50,000 and you don't need it now, and you want bigger growth, more tax savings, invest in a multifamily, in real asset, right? Because technically, if you invest in a building, it's there. You can go and touch it. It's
Yep.
in Dallas. You can go and touch it and be like, yeah, I'm a owner of this building. Passive investor is just still an investor. You're still an owner. You're just
Mm-hmm.
not making decisions on how to run the thing. And if you don't care about making decisions, then, you know, who cares? But you're still an owner, and
Yep.
and not only that, you get benefits first because you get
Mm-hmm.
paid first. I mean, all the returns go to you first. So it's a win-win for everyone. Without
100%.
passive investors, we wouldn't be able to buy this. We wouldn't be able to do this. So it's a true group effort. It's a
100%.
true group effort.
100%. I gotta ask you, what's next for you, my man? I mean, you've done so. I think you've literally done in 3 years what people could do in like 10. I'm serious, and that to me is very empowering, because it gives someone else the permission to do the same. So I want to thank you for that, because
Yeah.
we see someone like, oh, like Vlad, I'm a graphic. Someone might be listening who's also a graphic designer. Someone might be, or that someone's looking to completely reinvent themselves. But there's one fundamental truth that will always stay true: is you took that action, you took the steps, and you took the reps, right? But what's next for you? I'm curious. What do you look for? I know we talked about doors isn't everything, but
Yeah.
what is the goal? I'm sure you
Yeah,
have some that you'd like to.
my ultimate goal is true wealth,
Mhm.
which is freedom of time. It's not money, it's freedom of time. When I get my passive income to replace my expenses, then I'll be truly wealthy. I want to do anything at any time. And I already feel it, right? Because I'm sitting at home and I'm talking to you. I can just leave at any second. I don't have to ask anyone to leave,
Mhm.
right? Because I already feel it. But as soon as I'm able to do it, then I'm not going to say I'm not going to work. I'll still continue. But the ultimate goal is I have a vision board here. I want to have 25,000 doors as LP and GP and co GP. I
I
mean,
love that.
it's totally doable. My goal for first year was 20 doors. And then I'm like, no, let's go 200.
Mhm.
Like crazy goal, right? I got 208. So it's not that crazy. So why is 25,000 doors might be a crazy goal? Because it's not. And ultimate goal for us is to open up as animal sanctuary here in New
Oh wow.
Jersey. Yeah, what happened was we went to a farm like an hour away from us, deep in Jersey. And we were feeding animals, and we asked a person there, like, where are all these animals coming from? And they're like, they're all rescues, right? Like, if they're hurt or like a horse cannot run anymore, what are they going to do? So they take them, they rehab them, and they open up like a children petting zoo and animal rescue. So we got that idea, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is a really great idea. We
Wow.
should get more of this. And that's our ultimate goal as well, to open up animal sanctuary here in New Jersey. So it's just few of the things that we want to do when we achieve the true freedom. Additionally, we want to get like an Airbnb in Costa Rica, and we just love Costa Rica.
Oh yeah, nice.
It's like that,
It'd be
yeah. So
it'd be interesting, Vlad, if you could tie that to one of your syndications at one point when you identify other partners who might be interested in like investing for a larger cause. I don't know. Something to think about. I don't know if there's a
yeah.
way to put it. Yeah.
You know what? Funny thing you should say, because I just changed my real estate broker to Realty One, right? And funny thing is, they work on difficult cases like foreclosures, liens, probates.
What's it called, by the way?
Realty One,
Oh,
Realty One.
Realty One. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a residential real estate brokerage, like Keller Williams, for example. A lot of people know that. So anyway, and but they hyper focused on like difficult cases because people have experience background on that, which is great, right? So one of the people there, his dream is also opening up an animal sanctuary, and we clicked
Wow.
immediately. And when you just said it, I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, this makes total sense, right? I wanted to do it. He wants to do it, but he doesn't have time or the resources. Same thing for me. What if we combine our resources and split our time? We can open up this place, a
Yeah.
year earlier. Maybe even get a larger one. We'll
Yeah.
have less of a limit. See, there you go,
Yeah,
partnership.
I feel 100%. I feel like there's a lot of people who are even listening who might be like, I would invest just for that reason because I have money laying around, but I want to, it's kind of like I want to put it to work, but I don't necessarily, know an organization that can put my money to work and also have maybe a percentage of the proceeds go towards building that. I think that's very powerful. I was part of a mastermind back then that was called Evolved Enterprises, where there's always a meaning behind, what you're doing, and I feel like you're more qualified than anyone to be able to put that together. So we'll be watching and we'll keeping an eye on what you're up to. Either way, I trust that you're going to continue to 10x what you're doing. But that's amazing. And just for context, I don't think I asked you, how many doors are we at today as far as where you're at right now as we're recording this?
Yeah, about 700 now. And
That's
also, we are working on few land development deals. We're about to sell land development. So we bought raw land in Sarasota, right outside of Sarasota, and we rezoned it to build 96 doors or 210 with lower square footage. It just kind of varies. So we are getting ready to sell the land. So, if
that's
anybody's
incredible.
out, yeah.
And do you find before I let you go, I'm just curious, when I just the scale is incredible. When you do these kind of deals, are you both GP and LP, and is it the same people? Is it mixed match? Does it start? Do you feel that your portfolio starts turning into, you know 80% of what we own is controlled by the same 20% of the partners, or you're still at a place right now where you're like, no, like we got partners for our 20 units, you got another set of partners for 100. And when I say partners, I mean more of like the GP, the people in the
Yeah.
front lines. Who
Yeah,
are
good
those? Yeah.
question. Yeah, in all the deals, I am GP, co-GP, or JV. I'm not an LP in any of the deals. And the reason is because my wife's background, number one, she knows finances. She still is in real estate, so she has the skills. Additionally, since we joined Jake and Gino and we paid for the mentorship, I believe and know that I can contribute more being a partner, an active partner, than being an LP. Um, and also, I'm learning a lot being a GP. So I am GP in all the deals, and I lost my train of thought. What was the second
Yeah,
question?
the question is do you find that it's the same co-GPs or GPs
Oh,
that are
yeah,
coming
yeah.
together?
No, absolutely. They're the same people
Mm,
that I'm working with. So I work with only two teams. That's it. The teams that I know for over a year, I do not work with just like people that I just meet. Let's say I meet a person at a networking event and they're like, why don't you come raise money for me? I'll most likely say no. I only work with people because don't forget, it's a partnership, it's a relationship.
yeah.
You in it for 5 years. Do
Mhm.
you really want to get into a deal with a
Yeah.
person that you don't know like that quickly? And what's most important things what people are missing, you bringing your investors into the deal with a person that you don't know, right?
Mhm.
So how confident are you that he's not going to lose your investors capital?
Yeah,
Because
who
that's
who who
big.
know you and that's your brand. Now you're
Yeah,
putting your name on the line. So yeah, and I'm so glad
that's
you
the
touched on
biggest
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my partnerships, for example, I know them for over a year. A few I've met from Jake and Gene, a few I met at networking events, and then I grew the relationship by just speaking, calling, etc., etc. And of course, I vetted them. I look at their background, and I look at their work ethic as well, right? I look if they're focused the same, we have the same focus, the same mindset. If they're not just like all over the place, I because I want to work with people that we really just click, that
Mhm.
have the same, I shouldn't say personality, but maybe um
Core
uh
values.
I guess core values, it that we really sometimes you just see a person be like, oh my gosh, I click with that person.
Yeah.
And it happens often, but still, even if you align, I want to build that relationship. I want to know about you. I want to know what's your background. What about your family? Like kids, where do you go on vacation? I just want to know the real true person, right?
And
Because it's
yeah.
like marriage.
No, and
So
it's so funny. It's like deep dive dating too. And I'm
yeah,
curious when you're on this topic, and I promise I'll let you go, but these are such
no,
great gems. Is what does when you find those things out more, is it tactically, what does that look like? Is it going on a, hey, come to this mastermind with me? Is it, let's do a barbecue between our families? Is it like, what are those activities that allow you to see someone's true character? Because I can tell you're very conscientious of that, and
yeah.
so I'd be curious to a guy like you, how do you read character? How do you build that trust? What activities are you doing with them?
Yeah, initially it starts with let's go to lunch, let's go to coffee, things like that. And then, oh, yeah, let's go to a barbecue together. And now, in many cases, we just call few partners and be like, hey, listen, we're throwing a barbecue at our house and we're cooking, stop by. And we're actually doing it in August. Believe it or not, few of our partners are coming to our house. One is flying from Florida. A few others are driving from Long Island, and they're coming in because we like to hang out with them because they're really nice people. True, I trust them. I like them. Everything about them. And what's important is they're professionals at what they do. Right?
Mm,
They're truly focused. They're not taking it like, oh yeah, we just kind of, we're trying it out. No, there's no trying here. They're really hyper focused. This is their life.
yeah.
So if the deal comes around and they're like, oh yeah, do you have any deals or something like that, and another partner comes, I know exactly who those people are. I know exactly who should I call. So to answer your question, I only work so far worked, I don't know what's going to be in the future, ask me in 5 years. But so far I only worked with two teams, and I don't want to do more. Like I said, I'm very hyper focused, and you know what? If the deal fails and I lose my money, yeah, I'll cry about it.
Yeah.
But if God forbid I lose my investors' capital, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
why
that's
we're incredibly paranoid. That's why I say any deal is not our deal.
mm,
Even when it comes to deals and partners and sponsors, that we are very hyper focused on that.
love that. Last but not least, I gotta ask you, what core competency that you feel that you bring to the table between you and your partners?
Yeah, it varies from deal to deal, but what I do is we I like, for example, me, I raise capital, I look for deals, and also because of my background, I do asset management or co-asset management. I shouldn't say asset management because I'm remote. So, but that's what I do. I'm trying to help out as much as I can. A lot of my focus now is on deal finding,
Mm-hmm.
and I did find a deal in Kansas completely off market. I found it myself by calling a seller. We purchased 40 units in Kansas City suburb. So that's what I'm doing now. So these are the things that I bring to the table, and also there's of course underwriting that comes with it because from all the experience, I have a lot of deal flow coming in now,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to underwrite a lot of deals, and that's another thing that I bring to the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say to a listener that it's important to not be a jack of all trades, but at least be competent in all areas? Or would you say no, get really good at this one thing? That
You
I'm
know
curious
what?
about.
I would say really be great at one thing, maybe
Mm,
two. But I think it's really important to know all aspects. And I'll give you an
mm-hmm.
example. Like, if you trying to sell a deal and you never underwritten at all, don't even know what a model looks like or what a rent roll or T12 is, then technically it's pretty difficult, I guess, to kind of explain a deal to a person,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, I don't do active underwriting right now, but I underwritten plenty of deals. It's just not my thing to underwrite
Yeah.
deals. I'm not a
Yes.
sell person, right? Me, I like to be here. I like to be with you. I like to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. I like to do presentations and seminars. I was speaking in the Hilton Hotel in front of 200 people. That's my thing. I like it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really challenging myself and bringing it out of my comfort zone as much as I can. Basically, when I'm standing there and I'm sweating like crazy, that means I'm doing good, right? I'm
I
doing
love
something
it.
so challenging. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly. But if I'm comfortable, yeah, I gotta challenge myself a little bit. I don't want to cruise. Don't forget. Remember, I said my wife's personality, right?
I
Where
was just gonna say,
there you go.
your wife would let that happen. So I think you're all set
Yeah,
in good hands.
I'm not
Yeah.
cruising. Absolutely
Yeah.
not, because
Yeah.
when I got offered a speaking engagement in front of I think 200 people, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I never done it before. And she's like, you going? I'm like, I know I'm going. You don't have to convince me. I'm going. So my next thought is, what do I need to do to prepare? I immediately taken speech classes on how to present in front of an audience immediately, and I got like 4 classes down, under my belt. And then, of course, because I needed to take action. What do I need to do to speak? I never done it before,
Yeah.
and I started researching various topics and things like that. And then I did a speech, and then I hosted 2 panels. So go figure. I didn't even know I was going to host a panel because they're like, "Oh, you did pretty good. You want to host a panel?" And I'm like, "But I never done it before." It's okay, just wing it. I'm like, what am I winging? And they gave me a piece of paper. I'm like, acquisitions. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about acquisitions. So I really did wing it, and
Yeah.
everybody was very happy. They
But
they actually called me back.
you did wing it, but at the same time, you know, opportunity is when preparation, right? And opportunity come, and that's what you delivered, and
Yeah,
so you were prepared for the opportunity, right?
yeah.
And so, wow, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming and over delivering a value. It says a lot about your character. It's very consistent, it's very on brand, Vlad. So thank you for overstaying over time with us here in the lab. I had an amazing conversation with you, and I want to definitely give my audience an opportunity to tap in with you. Where can we find out about what you got going on? I know there's tons that you're doing, very hyper focused in a very hyper focused way, and with your team. So how can the audience tap in with what you're currently doing with your team?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, reach out to me. Hey, listen, I got a very unique name, Vlad Arakcheyev. Google me, look up zonticventures.com. I send out a pretty light newsletter if you want to subscribe. But yeah, reach out on LinkedIn, Facebook, ask a question. If you're looking to be, yeah, as an investor or at least thinking about it, ask me. You don't have to do it now, but at least consider it as a potential. And if you think of anyone else that might benefit from being in a syndication or being in real estate, investing in real, true, hard asset, yeah, reach out. I always have opportunities that are coming around. Like last opportunity came in March. So now the deals are not as free flowing as they were a year ago, because like you see, the debt's expensive, you have a lot of risk going on, insurance is on the rise. So we're really very, very picky when it comes to deals. We even kind of shifted from Houston to Dallas, trying not to be as on the coast as much, being safer in Dallas, I think. So great markets as well. So yeah, reach out. I'll definitely make a connection, make an introduction, or at least ask a question. I'm always here.
Awesome. And is there a best place to reach out, Vlad?
Yeah, listen, PM me, like I said, on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Google me. Hey, listen, I'm a residential agent. You got all my emails, my phone numbers, and everything just pops up on the front page of Google. So, when you're a residential agent and the realtor sticks out, it's all, it's all public information.
Yep, our information is out there. Shout out to all the spam calls out there. As well, we'll take them.
Hey, listen,
Comes with the
I'm
price of
happy
doing
to
business.
help. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. And if people really want true value out of this and really want to learn, I'm more than happy to spend time and teach them, because it's just really cool, because I really want to give back
Yeah.
to people. And because so much has been given to me.
Mm.
And if I wanted to, if I should have started this sooner. And I'm like, but hey, it is what it is. I can't change the past. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help others and learn from my mistakes and get them to this point sooner, so they'll see the true benefits and true value of this. So that's what I'm doing.
I think your timing is impeccable, my friend, and the timing was right when it needed to happen. So,
Yeah, I
with that
think so
said,
too.
Zontic Ventures, we'll check that out, and you have Vlad here, who tuned in, who over delivered in value, and we will definitely be keeping tabs on you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Just like that, experimentation, we are out. Experimentation podcasting has changed the way we operate as real estate investors ourselves, and it can do the same for you. Podcasting has been the source of the master classes that we get thanks to the world-class real estate investors and practitioners and specialists that come into the lab from all realms, from short-term rentals to mid-term rentals to real estate syndications to even software as a service. Owners, founders, entrepreneurs have helped enrich our experiments by giving us the education, helping us build a network, and lastly, and most importantly, a brand association to open up multiple doors for our respective businesses. If you understand the power that podcasting can have, and you know that you need one for your brand, please, you can rely on our team. Investedtalent.com is my team and the team that helps this podcast, the Real Estate Experiment, become the fruition each and every single week to educate my community, build relationships on the air, and continue to build our brand. If you know that you need to do the same for your brand and you haven't pulled the trigger yet, maybe because you don't know how, Our company, investedtalent.com, does the end-to-end from the time that you record to the time that it is published to even repurposing content on multiple social media platforms. That's what my team can do for you. Simply go to investedtalent.com and book a discovery call to see how my team can help you launch your podcast.